Okay, now Macau's got 144 visa-free or visa-free arrival countries and territories, and it's rated as the 34th best passport in the world. Macau is a special administration region of the People's Republic of China with a population around 680,000 and an area of about 32.9 square kilometers. And it's the most densely populated region of the world. Formerly a Portuguese colony, the territory of Portuguese Macau was first leased to Portugal by the Ming Dynasty as a trading post in 1557. And Portugal paid an annual rent, administered the territory under the Chinese sovereignty until 1887. Now, Portugal later gained perpetual colonial rights in the Sino-Portuguese Treaty of Peking. The colony remitted under Portuguese rule until 1999, which was the handover to China. And Macau is a special administration region of China, which maintains separate governing and economic systems from those of mainland China under the principle of one country and two systems. But technically, folks, this is like the Hong Kong-China relationship. It's pretty much run by China, okay? And as you'll find out, it doesn't have freedom of speech. It's controlled by China totally, you know. But originally a sparsely populated collection of coastal islands, Macau was often referred to as the Las Vegas of the East since the late 20th century, and has become a major resort city and a top destination for gambling tourism. Its gambling industry is 7 times larger than that of Las Vegas. The city has one of the highest per capita incomes in the world at $43,770 US dollars in 2021, and its GDP per capita by purchasing power parity is one of the highest in the world. Now, it's got a very high human development index as calculated by the Macau government, and the 4th highest life expectancy in the world. The territory is highly urbanized. 2/3 of the total land area is actually built on land reclaimed from the sea. So pretty much it's been a country that they just raised out of the ocean. But Macau is a special administration region of China with executive, legislation, and judicial powers devolved from the traditional or national government. The Sino-Portuguese Joint Declaration provided for economic and administrative continuity through the handover, resulting in the executive-led governing system largely inherited from the territory history as a Portuguese territory. Now, under these terms and the one country, two systems principle, the basic law of Macau is regional constitution. Because the negotiations for the joint declaration and basic law began after transitional arrangements for Hong Kong were made, Macau's structure of government is very similar to Hong Kong's, as I mentioned to you. Now, Chinese national law does not generally apply in the region. It's treated as a separate jurisdiction. Its judicial system is based on a Portuguese civil law, continuing the legal tradition established during colonial rule. Interpretive and amending power over the basic law and jurisdiction over acts of state lie in the central authority. However, making regional counts ultimately subordinate to the mainland's socialist civil law system. And then decisions made by the Standing Committee of the National People's Congress can also override territorial judicial processes. In 2021, after similar actions were taken in Hong Kong following the protests associated with the anti-extradition law amendment bill movement, 21 candidates running for office in the territorial elections were disqualified as a result of allegedly failing to support the basic law, although no special allegations were noted by the territory's electoral commission. In other words, if you don't go by China's law, you know, you're going to have problems. And it's pretty much a part of China, but they say it's separate, just like they're doing with Hong Kong. It's pretty much the same way. Now, the territory's jurisdiction independence is most apparent in its immigration and taxation policies. The identification department issues passports for permanent residents which differ from those issued by the mainland or Hong Kong, and the region maintains a regulated border with the rest of the country. And all travelers between Macau and China and Hong Kong must pass border controls regardless of nationality. Now, Chinese citizens resident in mainland China do not have the right of abode in Macau and are subject to immigration controls. Now, public finances are handled separately from the national government, and taxes levied in Macau do not fund the central authority. Now, the Macau garrison is responsible for the region's defense, although the chairman of the Central Military Commission is supreme commander of the armed forces. The regional government may request assistance from the garrison. Now, Macau residents are not required to perform military service, and the law also has no provision to local enlistment. So its defense force is composed entirely of non-residents. Now, that's one advantage of this. You know, you're not going to be caught in some sort of military requirement where you're having to serve, which is nice. But again, one thing that I don't like in this country is they don't allow a dual citizenship. And I've told people before, you definitely want that. They do have a good tax system, which I'm going to be going over with you. But that's probably one of the biggest advantages they've got. The State Council and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs handle diplomatic matters, but Macau retains the ability to maintain separate economic and cultural relations with foreign nations. The territory negotiates its own trade agreements and actively participates in organizations including agencies of the World Trade Organization and the United Nations. Now, the regional government maintains trade offices in Greater China and other nations. Public political demonstrations in Macau are generally rare. One reason you're going to see them being rare is you would more than likely be arrested. They don't have freedom of speech there. You know, as a special administration region of China, the territory does not have its own nationality law, and natural-born residents are generally Chinese citizens. Now, the predominant language is Cantonese. It's a variety of Chinese originating in Guangdong. It's spoken by 87.5% of the population and 80.1% as a first language and 7.5% as a second language. Now, only 2.3% can speak Portuguese, the other official language, and then 0.7% are native speakers and 1.6% use it as a second language. Increased immigration from mainland China in recent years has added to the number of Mandarin speakers, making up about half the population, which is 50.4%. And then you got 5.5% are native speakers and 44.9% are second language speakers. Now, Chinese characters are used in writing rather than the simplified characters used on the mainland. English is considered an additional working language and is spoken by over a quarter of the population, 27.5% to be exact, and then you got 2.8% that are native speakers and 24.7% speak English as a second language. Now, Macanese Patois is the local Creole, generally known as Patois, is now spoken only by a few in the older Macanese community. According to the Government Information Bureau, 80% of the population practices Buddhism, 6.7% follow Christianity, and 13.7% follow other religions. And folk practices are common among the citizens, according to the Pew Research Center. Chinese folk religions have the most adherents at 58.9% and are followed by Buddhism at 13.3%. And Christianity at 7.3%, followed by 15.4% of the population profess no religious affiliation at all. Now, small minorities adhering to other religious, less than 1%, including Hinduism, Judaism, and Islam, are also resident in Macau. Now, life expectancy is actually really good in Macau. It's roughly 81.6 years for males and 87.7 years for females. This was in 2018. Now, the fourth highest in the world, which is makes this a really neat place to live, because evidently people are pretty healthy minded in eating, and also the pollution level there must be pretty low for this to happen. Now, cancer, heart disease, and respiratory disease are the territory's 3 leading causes of death. Most government provided healthcare services are free of charge. The alternative treatment is also heavily subsidized. Migrant workers living in Macau account for over 25% of the entire workforce. They largely work in the lower wage sectors of the economy, including construction, hotels, and restaurants. As a growing proportion of the local residents take up employment in the gaming industry, the disparity in income between local and migrant workers has been increasing. Rising living costs have also pushed a large portion of non-resident workers to live in Zuhu. Now, let's look at the economy here in Macau. The government traditionally had a non-interventionist role in the economy, and taxes corporations are at very low rates. Post-handover administration have generally been more involved in enhancing social welfare to counter the cyclical nature of the gaming industry. Economic growth has been attributed to a large part to the high numbers of mainlanders that visit to Macau. And the central government exercises a role of guiding casino business growth through its control of flow of tourists. Now, the closer economic partnership arrangement formalized a policy of free trade between Macau and mainland China, and each jurisdiction pledging to remove remaining obstacles to trade and cross-boundary investment. Now, due to a lack of available land for farming, agriculture, and not significant in the economy, food is imported to Macau, and almost all foreign goods are transshipped through Hong Kong. Now, Macau SAR passports are also issued by the Identification Services Bureau in Macau, and an applicant must fill out an application form and then possess a Macau SAR permanent resident identity card and 2 recent 1.5-inch colored photos, along with, if you're replacing an old passport, their prior Macau SAR passport. Now, non-residents seeking to become permanent residents must be ordinarily resident in Macau. And they've got to have this for a certain period of time, which is they've got to have it for about 7 years. And citizenship here is pretty hard, but I'll tell you something. The problem is you're going to have to give up your other passports. And the only thing that I see really good about this is the tax laws are pretty good in that they don't tax income that's outside the country. But there are countries that you can go to. St. Kitts is a good example. They have no income tax at all, not just outside the country, but inside the country, and they allow dual citizenship. And the big key is, would I pick this country? No, I would not. There's too many other countries that are a lot better. I mean, this has too many. It does have a lot of positives, but it's not like the gold standard like St. Kitts has got. It just doesn't have all the boxes checked. But the government traditionally had a non-interventional role in the economy and taxes corporations at very low rates. This is one thing that I do like about it. But the problem is you can't get dual citizenship. That's the biggest. I always tell people, if you can't get dual citizenship, you got a real problem. But Macau SAR passports are only issued by the Identification Service Bureau in Macau. An applicant must fill out an application, possess a Macau SAR permanent residence identity, and 2 photos, as I mentioned before. And non-residents seeking to become a permanent resident must be ordinarily resident in Macau for a continuous period of at least 7 years before becoming eligible for the status. Now, originally, in the context, excludes certain clauses of people, including central government officials. Macau does not allow dual citizenship, as I mentioned, but it does not tax foreign earnings, and this is probably the biggest advantage I do like about it. But again, there's too many countries Antigua and St. Kitts has got everything these countries don't have. If you like St. Kitts or if you like Antigua, that's the key you got to look at. Now, the weather, too, also is going to be a lot better in St. Kitts and Antigua because it's in the Leeward Island chain of countries. So your weather is really one of the best in the world, which you're going to get a lot of hot weather in Macau. Anyway, if you want to know more on this, go to our website, www.citizenshipquickly.com, and just ask for some help. And I would like to hear from you. If you got a question or comment, just put it below. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button at the right of your screen right here. You get new videos automatically as they come out. And I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care.